Morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be a moderator for today's webinar. I'm Dr. Shamala Palaniappan, and on behalf of our Unit Penulisan dan Penerbitan, Bahagian Penyelidikan Jaringan Industri and Alumni, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you with a four-line of Malay poem. Mencari timba si anak dara, di bawah sarang burung tembuak. Salam sembah, pembuka bicara, selamat datang untuk semua. Kalau pergi Tanjung Keramat, anak manis, jangan diangkat. Bersama kita memohon rahmat, moga majlis mendapat rahmat. Berkat. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone for taking time off from your busy schedule to join us today. Thank you very much. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank to our Puan Nur Diana as a head of program for today's webinars, and also all the committee members in organizing this webinar. Before we start with our webinar today, I would like to do few announcements. Before we start, let me explain how you all could talk to us during the webinar. If you have any questions during the presentation, you may write your question on the chat box. We will entertain all your questions maybe during the break time or at the end of the webinar after our honorable speaker speech. Let us officially enter to our webinar section. Our topic today is choosing the right journal, and our honorable speaker is Dr. Zuraidah Abdul Manaf. Sure, all of you are waiting to hear and see our speaker. Let me take, with the doctor's permission, let me explain doctor's biography. Prior to joining the UiTM, Dr. Zuraidah served Malaysian Agriculture Research and Development Institute, MARDI, as a librarian from the year 1989 till to 1999. In year 2008, Dr. Zuraidah obtained a doctoral degree from International Islamic University, Malaysia. She is a professor in the field of information management in UiTM. She was seconded as a Director of Citation and Informatic Division of Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia for 5 years. After she completed a tour of duty at the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, she joined back on the February 2020 and back to her faculty as a full-time professor. She also has been appointed as Pengurusi Jawatan Kuasa Pengukuhan Jurnal dan Buku Penyelidikan Universiti on 1st February 2021. I personally did some search on Dr. Zuraidah biography in the internet to get know her more closely, but I failed to get any news regarding us. I'm only able to see posts congratulating on her appointment in a internet. So I could feel that her humble and her patient in doing her responsibility. I impressed and admiring doctors' enthusiasm and hardworking to succeed her in a given position. Congratulations, Prof. I believe that Dr. Zuraidah is a right person to give talk on today's topic, which is choosing the right journal and how we can strategize in order to publish our paper, because her knowledge and experience at the Malaysian Citation Center will give a view on the topic. Her knowledge she's going to share her knowledge on how we can strategize our publication. Choosing a suitable journal is very important for us to get a citation in order to us to increase our H index. To begin this webinar, we are pleased to have Dr. Zuraidah Abdul Manaf to deliver her talk on choosing the right journal. I would like to welcoming Dr. Zuraidah. Hello, Dr. Zuraidah.
Yeah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Dr. Shamala, for a very kind introduction. Okay, Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, and a very good morning to all attendees to this talk. Ladies and gentlemen, This is a knowledge sharing session. I'm going to share my experience of handling Malaysian scholarly journal, not only in terms of its publishing quality, but also in terms of its performance. So whatever I'm going to share today is basically my personal view. So ladies and gentlemen, submitting your journal manuscript to the wrong target journal is one of the most common reasons why journal editors might reject your paper. With over 33,000 scholarly peer-reviewed journals out there, it's no surprise that finding the right match for your research paper can be difficult. Admittedly, the process can be so frustrating that you might even want to give up, but you shouldn't lose hope. The journal submission process isn't a game of hit or miss. You can take control of your situation and improve the chances of having your manuscript accepted if you understand how journals operate and know their readership. In other words, you have to be smart about how you navigate the publication game. Okay, let me share my slides. Can you see the slide?
Cannot, Doctor.
Cannot wait. Okay, is it okay?
Okay, Doctor. We can see your slide right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is my presentation outline. Okay, although the topic is on choosing the right journals, but I have to start with scholarly communication, scholarly publishing, then only I can go into the topic which is choosing the right journal. And I'm going to share also a few journal performance metrics such as impact factor, site score, and SNP. And finally, I'm going to cover a glimpse of predatory journal issues. So, without further ado, let's start our presentation. I'm going to start with scholarly communication. So when we talk about scholarly communication, scholars involved in scholarly communication, the process of conducting research and other academic compositions and pursuit and share the results to the wider academic community, from creation to dissemination to preservation of knowledge for teaching, learning, research, and scholarship. So the key point here, whatever published by scholars, they have to ensure the integrity and quality of the information because it will be used by various group of people for various purposes. This is the structure of scholarly communication cycle developed over centuries. It starts with create, evaluate, certify, disseminate, and preserve the intellectual outputs. It involves three major stakeholders, which is scholars who create the knowledge, publishers who review, edit, package, and distribute the knowledge, repositories that collect, preserve, and organize the knowledge so that it can be used again and again in knowledge generation. So it is a collaborative effort between scholars, publishers, and repositories developer. And the most important aspect in this cycle is that the knowledge must be discoverable. A paper or research article is intended to inform the reader, and if your research does not generate any papers, it might just not have it done. The reason why scholars publish is because they want to disseminate new knowledge. They're even willing to pay to make their research findings being published. Get it published means that they have put an effort to disseminate the knowledge to a wider audience. So let's see the origin of scholarly publishing. 1439 is the starting of printing revolution by Gutenberg. Invention of mechanical type printing became as a key role in the development of Renaissance, Reformation, and the scientific revolution. 1580, House of Elsevier, a Dutch family publishing house, was established, and this is the starting of Elsevier. The practice of peer review has been implemented since 1665 by Henry Oldenburg, the editor of Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society. He began the practice of sending submitted manuscripts to experts who could judge their quality before publication, and this is the beginning of modern scientific journal and the practice of peer review. When we look at the functions of scholarly journal, besides the dissemination of new knowledge, scholarly journal also function as certification, assuring quality and accuracy of published research through peer review process, registration, attributing who conducted the research, dissemination, making the information available, and finally archiving, ensuring content available in perpetuity, means that the content can sustain for a longer period. This is a figure about scholarly publishing again, and it shows the process of scholars' hard work. Okay, starting from getting research fund until publish an article. If we look at this process, it does not give any monetary rewards to them. In most cases, scholars are not allowed to use their own work once they sign it over to the publishers, okay, unless the library subscribe to it. On publishers' part, there are lots of operational and technical processes involved before the articles get published and reach the audience. And some of these journals will charge APC, which is Article Processing Charge, to the authors to support the process. So when we talk about scholarly knowledge, okay, scholarly knowledge are disseminated through formal and informal channels. But as I mentioned just now, the most vital and crucial element in dissemination of scholarly knowledge is its reliability and trustworthiness. Ladies and gentlemen, it is mandatory for all scholarly publications to undergo a strict peer review process to ensure only reliable, trusted, or accepted standards of knowledge discipline being published. Okay? Issues of unwarranted claims, unacceptable interpretations, or personal views are filtered out and should not be published without prior expert review. It is a form of quality control for scholarly output published and disseminated. Authors, peer reviewers, and editorial board of a scholarly journals are accountable and responsible for the published scientific information in the scholarly journals. So their role is very important. They are accountable and responsible for whatever they publish in their journals. So ladies and gentlemen, We have to acknowledge that not all journals are created equally. So as a researchers, we have to ensure that our intellectual property being published in the right journal. Why? Because basically we want it to fulfill all the functions mentioned earlier, which is certification, registration, and archiving of our intellectual property. We have spent so much of efforts and resources to produce it, so it should be retained and sustained for future use. It is knowledge that makes the world move forward. It needs to be disseminated. It needs to be shared because knowledge shared growth. According to Bond, it is better to publish one paper in a quality journal than multiple papers in lesser quality journal. And if we want to publish, let's publish in journals that have high impact factors because it will give chances for your paper to have high impact too. However, how many journals are out there to publish in? And which journal should you submit your manuscript? Finding the right journal can be difficult and tedious process. According to STM report 2019, there are 33,100 active index scholarly peer-reviewed English language journals and a further 9,400 non-English language journals publish more than 3 million articles a year. The number of articles published each year and the number of journals have both grown steadily for over 2 centuries by about 3 to 3.5% per year. 50 million articles published and the number is growing. However, 50% of research publications are never read and 90% never cited. As a result, half of all research publications unread, and this work is unlikely to have any impact. A great ideas that could be driving innovation are just getting lost. Thus, making the publication visible, discoverable, and accessible is crucial. Why need to be visible? Basically because we want to disseminate new knowledge. Okay. 2, we want to increase impact and visibility of the research. 3, we want to establish researchers' reputation. And number 4, be visible or vanish. Okay, let's see what are the effects of articles visibility. Articles visibility will increase our citation count. Okay, it will increase authors H index, it will increase journals impact factor, and finally, it will increase the performance of institution, the country scholarly outputs. Okay, now I'm going to share about the difference between index and non-index journal. Okay, I believe that everybody would like to publish in an index journal. Okay, but to get published in an index journal, it is not easy. Okay, and please be informed also that doesn't mean that non-index journals is low quality. Some are very good journals also. Okay, so it brings us to this slide, publishing in scholarly journals. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, not all journals are created equally. Basically, we can divide it into 2 categories. One is index journals and the other one is non-index journal. But again, I have to stress here, not all non-index journals are low quality. You cannot make such judgment. For example, a new established journal need at least 3 to 4 years before being considered to be indexed. This journal need to show some level of quality publishing and performance before it gets accepted to be indexed in any databases. And under this index journal, you can also make decision whether you want to go for closed access or open access journal. If you choose closed access option, mean your paper will be available only to people who have subscribed to the journal. Only your abstract available online, and even you cannot post the paper on your site. You cannot post it in ResearchGate, etc. Okay, and some journals require you for APC, mean you pay article processing charge and your article will be available online for free. So anyone can see and cite it off or free publication. Okay. The success of a journal depends on developing a loyal readership who will become part of their scholarly community, citing the content and tell others about the value of the journal. In order for this to transpire, the journal need to be discovered. The journal need to be indexed. Indexation of a journal is considered a reflection of its quality and are considered to be of higher scientific quality as compared to non-indexed journal. And being indexed in a known database will help increase journals' readership and made it available to all users of the database. With indexation in several databases, it will give impact on its visibility, increase citations for individual researchers as well as the journal, and increase the opportunity for collaboration with other researchers from around the world. So when we talk about indexation, there are various types of index, but we are talking about citation index. What's the difference between citation index and other index? Citation index will indicate how many times a particular article has been cited or referenced by other articles within the index. So when we talk about citation index, in Malaysia, we have MyCite, okay, Malaysia Citation Index for Malaysian Journal Index, and this platform is maintained or managed by Citation and Informatics Center, Ministry of Higher Education. Then we have ASEAN Citation Index. So this is a citation index platform where you will capture selected journals from ASEAN countries. Okay, so and the other two, this is the international platform. I'm sure that you are aware and you know about Scopus and also Web of Science, which is two prominent databases which has been aimed by our researchers to publish in these journals index in these two databases. Okay, so these four are citation index database. So in other countries, they have their own citation index database. For example, in Indonesia, they have Sinta. In Korea, in Japan, they have their own national citation index database. Okay, getting accepted to be published, as I mentioned, it is not easy. If you manage to get through, it is an achievement that you can celebrate. Okay, so let's see how to make sure your articles is one of those that is accepted by those journals. Okay, first of all, you have to critically assess your own article, whether you are really ready to publish. Okay, you are considered ready if your work have advanced in the field. Okay, it must be frontier research in your field. If these criteria are not met, you'll need a strong manuscript to effectively present your contribution to the scientific community. It is crucially important to select the right journal for two main reasons. One, if your research is not published in an appropriate journal, it will not reach the intended audience, nor receive the downloads or even citations. Two, if your paper is outside the scope of a journal, it will likely be rejected immediately by the editors, not even because of the quality of the work, but because the topic doesn't fit the journal. So please be reminded that you must not submit your manuscript to more than one journal at a time. International ethics standards prohibit multiple or simultaneously submission. Nowadays, with the technology used in managing journal, it is easier for an editors to find out. Also ask your colleagues when you deciding where to submit. They may be more familiar with the different journals that are relevant to your field. If it is a co-authored paper, you must get agreement from the team where to submit the manuscript. Once you have shortlist, you need to investigate all candidate journals to find out more about them. So basic elements to be considered for choosing a journal. First, whether it is an index or non-index journal. I've explained the difference between these two earlier. What are the pros and cons? Number two, journal publishing standard. You should observe the publishing standard. Although it is not an index journal, but it might be a good journal because it fulfills all the scholarly journal criteria, such as it has its own website, the information provided in the website are clear, it published on time, the formatting is good, it is free from spelling and grammatical errors, etc. Okay, so you need to observe the journal publishing standard. Number two, editorial content. This is important. You have to check the credibility of the editorial team. Are the team comprised of those prominent names in the field or not? Okay. Number four, international diversity. In terms of its editorial team and its authors, you have to remember that if you intend to disseminate the knowledge worldwide, it must have international diversity. And finally, citation analysis. Although the journal is not indexed in Scopus or WAS, but you can always check their citedness in these two databases. Okay? So basically, there are 8 indicators that you can use to investigate journals. Okay, the first one is aims and scope of the journals. You must see whether does it match with your manuscript. Number 2, types of articles considered. Number 3, readership. Who is the main audience of the journal? Is it academics or practitioner? Number 4, is it an open access or only accessible through subscription? Number 5, speed of publication. This is important. How long it takes to publish your articles? Is it 6 months, 3 months, or more than 1 year? Okay. The next item that you should observe is types of peer review process. Normally, scholarly journal, they will go for double-blind peer review process. Okay. And number 7 is the journal matrix. We are going to talk soon about this journal matrix. This is where you have to check the impact factor, H index, and other journal metrics available. And finally, content innovation. So you have to look, you have to flip through the content. Yeah? Read through a few articles and see if the content is parallel with the current development in the field. Okay, we don't want to publish in something in a journals that always publish articles which is quite outdated in terms of innovation in specific fields. Okay, so we are going to journal metrics. When we talk about journal metrics, okay, it allows researchers to rank or compare journals through the use of citation data. Key journal metrics such as journal impact factor are commonly used by authors to guide decisions about which journals to aim when submitting articles for publication. The man who started it all, Eugene Garfield. Okay, in early 1960s, Irving Shah and Eugene Garfield created the journal impact factor to help select journals for Science Citation Index. They recommended to keep track of who cited researchers' paper, such as an impact factor, may be much more indicative than an absolute count of scientists' publication. So, it is better to look for the impact factors rather than number of publications being published. So what is impact factor? Basically, impact factor is one of the relative importance of a journal within its field. The impact factor is a measure reflecting the average number of citations to articles published in science and social science journals. So I provide here also the formula of journal impact factor. Okay, number of articles published in 2 years. They are using 2 years window, was cited by index journals over total number of citable items. Okay, I would like to share with you this link. Okay, so if you look here, these are all Malaysian journals indexed in Web of Science and listed in Journal Citation Report. This is 2019 data. Okay, so this is the journal impact factors that you should observe. I have ranked it according to the highest to lowest impact factor, and if you look the highest Malaysian journals, okay, with high impact factor is Asia Public Journal of Public Health with impact factor 1.255. Okay, then we have ASEAN Mycology by University Malaysia Sabah. The impact factor is 0.621. Okay, so you can look here. So if you want to publish in a high impact journal, so you have to look into the journal impact factor. Okay, so if you see Malaysian journal, the highest impact factor is ASEAN Pacific Journal of Public Health with journal impact factor 1.255. Okay, what is the highest impact factor that we have in Web of Science? Okay, so if you look at this journal for clinicians, okay, the impact factor is 292.278. Okay, so Compared to Malaysian journals, we are just 1.2 something, but journals out there, their impact factors is more than, I think this one is almost 300 journal impact factor. Okay, so this one you can check through journal citation report to see what are the journals impact factor and whether you want to submit your articles to those journals. And you have to expect that you need to have a very strong, high quality manuscript before submitting to a very high impact factors journal. Okay, so beside than that, Scopus, they have a few metrics. Okay, among the metrics that always being observed is Simago Journal Rank, which is weighted by the prestige of a journal, IPP, impact per publication, SNP score, measure a resources contextual citation impact by weighting citations based on the total number of citations in a subject field and also site score. So this is considered a new matrix being put in by Scopus. So let's see Malaysian journal ranking in Scopus. Okay, so this is Malaysian journal and we can see that one journals from UiTM, which is Journal of Mechanical Engineering, is at number 36. For your information, we have 100 titles of Malaysian journals indexed in Scopus. Okay, the highest journal with high site score is Journal of Mechanical Engineering and Sciences by Malaysia University Pahang, followed by Journal of Oil Palm Research and so on. So we have 100 Malaysian journals in Scopus. Okay, so some still did not have site score yet. Okay. So this is new journal published by UiTM, ASEAN Journal of University Education. It just been accepted by Scopus last year. Okay. And let's see what are the top business management and accounting journals in Scopus. Okay. So these are the journals. Okay. If you are in business and management and accounting, maybe you would like to submit to Academy of Management Annals with site score 22.1, citation more than 2,000. Number 2, Journal of Management, okay, with 17.6 site score. This is the citation number of citations and so on. So all this data you can get it from Scopus, okay? Because the Ministry of Higher Education subscribes Scopus to all 20 public university, and this is top engineering journals in Scopus. Okay, so I don't know whether anybody or anyone of you publish in Nature Materials, because this is the top journals in engineering with site score 63.3. Okay, and if you look at the citation, it is more than 40,000 within 2016 in 3 years, 2016 to 2019. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about Predatory journal. Okay, this is the man who started talking about Predatory journal. I met him in one of my meeting in Bangkok. Okay, and we cannot avoid talking about Predatory journal when we talk about how to choose the right journal. Why? Because if possible, we need to avoid publish in Predatory journal. So basically, what is predatory journal? Okay, kalau dalam bahasa Melayu, predatory journal is said as jurnal pemangsa. Okay, so there is no proper definition on what is predatory journals. If you search in Google, most of the definition given will relate predatory journals along with author's fees and fail to perform promised quality checks for issues such as plagiarism or ethical approval. I found an article define predatory journal in a more holistic manner. The definition was formed based on discussion and agreement among few leading scholars and publishers from 10 countries. Okay, they define it as entities that prioritize self-interest at the expense of scholarship and are characterized by false or misleading information, deviation from best editorial and publication practices, lack of transparency, and or the use of aggressive and indiscriminate solicitation practices. So I find that this definition is more comprehensive and covers most of the aspects of predatory journal. Okay, and from the definition, I try to pick up or extract the characteristic of predatory journal. Number one, is it false and misleading information? Okay, a predatory journal's website or emails often present contradictory statements, fake impact factor, incorrect addresses, misrepresentations of the editorial board, false claims of indexing or membership of association, and misleading claims about the rigor of peer review. So it provides false and misleading information. Number two, deviation from best editorial and publication practices. This is very important. You need to understand and have knowledge about scholarly publishing. If you don't have the knowledge, how are you going to know that it deviates from best scholarly publishing practices? Okay. Number three, an unprofessional looking web page with spelling or grammar mistakes or irrelevant text. A poorly scholarly journal might not be able to maintain a professional website. Number four, lack of transparency. When we talk about transparency, it is from two angles. One, transparency in operational procedures, such as how editorial decisions are made, fees applied, and peer-reviewed organized. Number two, fail to provide their contact information or details about article processing charge. Okay, editors and members of their editorial boards are often unverifiable. Okay, and etc. So do the address, their email, and so on. Okay, lack of transparency. Number five, aggressive, indiscriminate solicitation. Okay, predatory journals often use aggressive solicitation, such as repeated emails. We always receive the same email again and again asking for our manuscript. A clear warning sign is that and the invitee's expertise is outside the journal's scope. Sometimes we feel that we are not from medical or health field, but why they send email asking for our manuscript. Okay, so these are all the characteristics of predatory journals that are extracted from the definition. So why predatory journal need to be avoided? There are lots of articles saying that. The first one mentions that predatory journal threaten research by failing to demarcate authentic science from methodological unsound science. Okay, researchers might establish their new research based on bogus and manipulated papers. These publishers could disappear overnight, and with it would go all the previously published research with which could have been genuine. Okay, you produce a very good research paper, you publish in a predatory journal, but by tomorrow the journals is no more there. Attaining a publication in a predatory journal is not neutral on a CV or resume, but an active demerit that harms the external reputations of all those involved. Predatory journals are generally ignored, causing any legitimate science within them to be lost. Okay, and the list can goes on and on. There's a lot of reason why we need to avoid predatory journal. Okay, I would like to share some signs of fake journal. Okay, so some of things that I'm going to mention is overlapping with the previous points. The first one, website. Okay, the journal's website contain misleading or false information. Okay, example, indexing, metrics, membership of scholarly publishing organization. Sometimes the journals also lack an ISSN number or use one that has already been assigned to another publication, mimics another journal's publisher site, or has no past or recent journal content. 2. Name of journal. So this is also important. The journal's name is the same or easily confused with other title. Okay. Peer review process and model are not mentioned. Manuscript acceptance or a very short peer review time is guaranteed. Submitted manuscript receive inadequate or no peer review at all. Okay. Number 4, ownership and management. Information about the ownership and or management is missing, unclear, misleading or false. Number 5, governing body. Information on editorial board is missing, misleading, false or inappropriate for the journal. Full names and affiliations of editorial board members are missing. So it is very important, if you look at the journal, the editorial team, you have to look through whether they have the affiliation and also the full email address. Okay. Number 6, editorial team. The journal need to have full names and affiliation of the journal's editors, full contact information of the editorial office. The editor-in-chief is also the owner publisher, or the editor-in-chief is also the editor of many other journals, especially in unrelated fields. Okay, for those who like to establish a journal, you need to take these things into consideration. Okay, you cannot appoint anybody to be in the editorial board, because editorial board must have some expertise in the field of the journal. Number 7, copyright and licensing. Okay, policies and notice of copyright, publishing license and user license are missing or unclear. Author fees, mandatory fees for publication are not stated or not explained clearly. Okay, so this is also sign of fake journal. Process for identification of and dealing with allegation of research misconduct, the publication ethics, publishing schedule. This periodicity of publication is not indicated. Okay, access, the way in which content is available to readers, and any associated cost is not stated, and in some cases Listed articles are not available at all. Archiving, there is no electronic backup and preservation of access to journal contents, revenue sources, advertising, and normally fake journal, they will do direct marketing. This is example of fake journal. This is a very well-known journal in our field, okay, Malaysian Journal of Library and Information Science, and this is also a website for Malaysian Journal of Library and Information Science. So if we look at these two websites, which one is the right website and which one is the fake website? Okay, so this is a fake website. So although the title is exactly the same, but they copied it and developed a website for it. Okay. So if we don't know or we did not realize that this is a fake website, we might submit our manuscript to this journal. Okay, and this is again, as I mentioned to you, we will receive this again very kerap kita terima this email asking for our manuscript, and the most important things that you should observe here is your article will be published within 24 hours. Okay, so it is impossible for a scholarly journal if they need to go through a proper peer review process to publish your paper within 24 hours. Okay. Okay. So this is again a website. Okay. You look at this website. I have to cover the title of the journals and few information about the publishers and all that. This is example of a predatory journal, and if you look the ISSN number, okay, so this is the ISSN number. You check with ISSN portal, it will state here the requested numbers do not correspond to valid ISSN. So this is again listed in Bill's list, and it is one example of predatory journals from Malaysian publisher. Okay. Okay. What is this? This is I just want to share with you. This is a journal, a very good journal. If you see Medline provide review here, okay, stating that this journal continues to play a major role in the publication of important basic science research papers. And if you look at the impact factors, it got quite a good impact factors. Okay, range between 4 to 6. Okay, however, this journal has been discontinued from Web of Science in 2018. So I don't know what is the reason for it, but my question is, although these journals have been taken out from Web of Science, are we going to consider this journal as not a good journal? Okay, because I'm not so sure, because those in clinical or medical field, maybe they can make a judgment whether Oncotarget is a quality or low quality journal. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, in scholarly publishing, okay, publishers rely on effective peer review processes to uphold not only the quality and validity of individual articles, but also the overall integrity of the journal they publish. So they are not just looking at the quality and validity of the articles, but overall integrity of the journals. Okay. once a while, please visit this retraction watch page. Okay, so you can see that some of the articles published in a good journal also being retracted. Okay, so once a while you just check this web page, yeah, to see the pattern of articles. Why? Because if you look at this one, they will give you reason why the paper being retracted. Okay, so for your information, there are 380 Malaysian article listed in this retraction wash. Okay, and I noticed that we are the highest uh, papers retracted in ASEAN countries. Okay, so we can check this. Okay, and I think I've reached at my conclusion. Okay, with the current pressures on researchers to publish, it will not be easy to eliminate the some of the serious problems that we mentioned that challenge the reputation and legitimacy of scientific development. After all of the hard work that goes into performing successful research, the final crucial step is choosing the right journal in which to publish. With over 33,000 active index scholarly peer-reviewed journal, choosing the best journal can be daunting even for seasoned researchers, not only the young one. Okay, making the wrong decision can cost valuable time, money, and efforts. Thus, there is a need for awareness among researchers concerning scholarly publishing. Keeping in mind the aim and scope of the journal, identifying papers that are similar in quality and scope, determining the journal's restriction, and considering the impact factor and potential reach will ensure a smooth path to publication. Wallahu alam. With that, I end up my presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Zuraidah, for the informative and interesting talk. Thank you so much. Now we come to the Q&A section. So far, there is only one question you have written on the chat box. So from the person named Guy, I couldn't. And then he asked, if books are less read, why are we are required to publish more books?
Okay. Well, did I mention books are less read?
I didn't come across any information
Okay.
regarding books.
So I think, well, it depends on the policy of the institutions. Maybe they want to have scholarly books also, because actually books also can be can get indexed into index. We are looking at the possibility to start to look how we can get our Malaysian books being indexed in Scopus and also Web of Science. There are a possibility for books index also. Okay, so why we are we required to publish more books? I can't answer it because I think it goes back to the policy of the institutions. Okay, any more
And
questions?
there's one more question from
Yeah.
Mr. Azran Manso.
Yes, please, Mr. Azran.
Can you
Can
please explain on journal embargo period, gold, open access, green access, and other type of access in publication? Thank you.
Okay, journal embargo period, it depends because the embargo period will be given by the citation database. For example, Okay, Scopus will give an embargo period within maximum will go until 5 years. So within that period, 5 years, you cannot do anything. Okay, there are also cases that we face during my time in Malaysia Citation Center where a journal being given embargo ever forever. Okay, so means that due to some malpractice and ethical issues being traced by Elsevier, that journal been given embargo ever forever. Okay, so when we talk about open goal, open access, green access, and so on, I think this one need a long discussion because it is basically on open access. So nowadays, it is a trend for authors to publish in open access journals. Okay, so with open access journals, it will make the articles more visible compared to the uh, closed access journals. As I mentioned, if closed access uh, means that only those subscribe to the journal can subscribe can access to the article. But when we say open access, it is not only gold open access, green access, but now they come up with diamond open access. So I will answer it later to Cik Azra Mansur. So maybe uh, we can I because I don't have the information currently with me. Okay. Any more question?
For the audience, please ask your question in a chat box if you want to join the discussion. You can clarify your doubts. While waiting for the questions, I have one question, Doctor. Can
Mm.
Doctor please explain impact factor and the journal quartile? What is that? I basically know about the impact factor journal, but nowadays we must publish in a Q1, Q2, Q3. I have some read, but I still have not have a clearly understand how we can choose whether we need to publish on the impact factor journals or we must concentrate on the this Q1 Q2 to publish our paper.
Mm. Not normally, doctor. When you said publish in Q1, Q2, and so on, it is the database will classify it into Q1, Q2, and normally until Q4 lah. Before only Web of Science they have Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, but now Scopus also they have their own classification of journals. Okay, so it is based on percentile. So whatever that we want to publish nowadays, it depends because I think most institution they find it easier if they classify it to Q1, Q2. So we have to find which journal is in Q1, Q2, and Q4. And sometimes in one journal they have multidiscipline journals. So in certain fields it is Q1, in certain fields it is Q2, although it is in the same journals. Okay, so it goes back to the database publishers. They are going to rank the journal based on the quartile. So they will rank it, and then the first 25 that will be Q1, and then the next one. That's how they will do it.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Thank you, Doctor. There is a question from Dr. Akmal Aini.
Mm.
Many of us share our article and research grade in order to increase the visibility. Does this consider ethical?
Especially article published at reputable journals that require subscription to get access. Okay, so for this, as I mentioned to you just now, if it is closed access, it depends on the agreement that you have signed. Okay, if it is closed access, means that you can only share, you cannot share the articles. It is unethical to do that because you have. That's why I mentioned just now. Sometimes the researcher can't even have access to the article if the library does not subscribe to the journals. Okay, so but it depends on the agreement that you have signed in. So that's why if you want to share something in ResearchGate, our article, it should be in the form of preprints. So what is preprints? Preprints is the format that uh, it is a format of the article before it get published. So you can only share that one, but not if it is a closed access journals. Okay, so you cannot share at ResearchGate. I think some of our researchers they did get notification from the journals if they found out that you share it in ResearchGate. Okay, but somehow or other you need to promote your articles. Okay, because if not, nobody knows that it is published. Okay, so you need to promote your article. So this is where you are using social media to promote your articles. And one way to promote the articles is you have to convert it into what they mention is as PLS, which is plain language summary. So actually there is a technique also on how to convert your article into PLS. Okay, so once you have converted, then you can share in wherever that you like because that is not in the format of the article. So if you want to share your research article in ResearchGate, what you can do is just share the link. Okay, the link that will bring the readers to the journals.
Hope Dr.
Okay.
Akmal ini get the answer. Thank you, Doctor. There's another question from Professor Madya Dr. Muhammad Rizaimi Shaharudin. Uh, from what
From
I know, KPT only provide guideline to abstain from publishing in journal from 4 publisher only. Can you please provide your comment on this?
okay, actually, this thing we even being asked about can KPT come up with blacklisted list? Okay, because I think this publishing these four publishers, I'm not so sure about it, but definitely in KPT we cannot provide a list of blacklist journals. Okay, we are not in the capacity to claim or to tell openly that this journal need to be blacklist or not. Okay, so that's why the approach of KPT is basically to educate what are the criteria, what are the attributes of a true scholarly journal, because researchers need to do the self-assessment on the journals. Okay, maybe Prof, can you just name the four publishers?
Um, while we waiting for the Professor Madya Dr. Muhammad Rizami answer the question, we go to the second another question. Publishing in Q1 journal for the social science is very tough, unlike for the SNT. Low quartile journal give higher citation when published. What is your comments on this?
Okay, it's true because I'm also social science. It's not easy for me for social science to get published in high impact factor. So basically, I think in sciences it is much easier, okay, but not in social science. Lower quartile journals, okay, it is basically because the citation is not there yet. Okay, if I can I share back my slides? My the ni can I?
Can Doctor? Can.
Can? Yang mana ya? You can see the slide, Dr. Shamala?
We can see your slide data.
Okay, I just want to open the link here. Okay, so if you look here, the list that I've provided, one is on business. Okay, if you look at this one, okay, the quartile for this top journal in business and management is 22.1. Okay, so if you look at the other one in engineering, okay, the quartile is 63.3. It's not the quartile, the side score. Okay, because from here it will goes to the it shows the impact of the journal, impact factor of the journal. Okay, so if you look at these two data, okay, it shows that in engineering the side score is very high, 63.3, compared to social science. Okay, social science just now is only 22 point something. It is already top there. So basically, what we can say here is that, I don't know, does it mean that we did not cite, we are doing less writing compared to sciences, or because most of journals index in Scopus and also Web of Science more on SNT compared to social science. Okay, so that's why our impact factors or the side score for social science journals is lower compared to SNT. The University Library recently unsubscribed 14 online database, which are very useful for those in the social science. How can we convince them to resubscribe as literature review and article writing require full paper reading? Reading the abstract to cite is not enough. I have to agree with you. Okay, so unsubscribe 14 online databases. It is something that, because I think goes back to the financial constraint, so they have to really filter and see which one is should be subscribed by the library. I think this one the librarian should answer it because I don't have the answer for it. Okay, so for your information, this is just for your information. I think libraries spend, I think more than 70% of their budget on database subscription. Not only UiTM, but all the 20 IPTA also. It is the same trend. They spend, I think, 70% of their budget on online database. But the nature of these online databases, every year there will be an increment. Okay, so at least the minimum is 3%, maximum it can goes until 10%. Okay, so every year if you want to maintain the same database subscription, you have to make sure that you add more budget, which it is not happen to our IPT. So we need to strategize, and at ministry level, we advise them to do resource sharing. Okay, so that's why I think recently, I don't know whether you are aware or not, we just launched a consortium. I think 1st April. The minister launched the consortium for database subscriptions, and basically the main aim is to strengthen the resource sharing among all libraries, because looking at the trend, because yearly increase in the cost of subscription, we can't afford it anymore. Okay, so that's why we established the consortium, hoping that we can establish a more strong resource sharing and collaboration among libraries. Okay, so that one I think libraries need to
Another question from Miss Gita
Doctor.
Subramania.
Yeah.
She said,
Yeah.
it's the first time she's listening to the PLS. Can you please give an example regarding on that? Thank you.
Okay. So, plain language summary is it is not new because I see in Singapore they have because for laymen they have difficulty to read the scholarly article. Okay, so what they did is they convert it into plain language summary and they publish it in research highlights. Okay, so there is a technique on this plain language summary, how to write it. Okay, so I met with Dr. Wong. He is from Hong Kong, I think. I can't remember the company's name. Okay, he did train us how to do the plain language summary. Very interesting, but of course, it will add more work to researchers because not only you have to come up with a good manuscript to publish your article, okay, but you have to convert it to plain language summary and publish it in research highlights and so on. But by doing this, okay, the message or the finding of the research will go to a more bigger audience compared to just a scholarly community only.
Thank you, Prof. We back to a question from Professor Madya, Dr. Muhammad Rizami. Doctor have mentioned here one of it was academic journal publisher.
Mm,
Then
okay.
I couldn't remember the others. I think you only could remember this publisher.
Mm, okay. Prof, I will check this one because this one I think is a commercial publishers. Okay, academic journal publishers. I will check this information. I will get back to you, Prof. Okay.
Uh, Let us look at another questions from Puan Nur Hikmah. Salam doctor, if a researcher is doing interdisciplinary research, the paper sometimes is hard to be accepted on both journal. What is your opinion regarding with this issue? Thank you.
Okay. So I think this goes back to how you are going to uh, which discipline is more prominent. Okay, this one you need to researcher need to identify it. Okay, that's why even for journals also I always told the editors that you have to make sure what is the DNA of your journal. Okay, because it is quite difficult if you want to. Sometimes a journal it is not. We did not encourage journals to have a very multidisciplinary content. Okay, because it is quite difficult. Because even in Scopus also they will categorize the journal according to the discipline. Okay, so when you said that, you have to look which one is the dominant discipline that you are doing it. Okay, I mean your research. Okay, because from there only, because it depends on the keywords that you are used. Okay, the keywords will determine the scope of the journal. So what are the keywords? You cannot jumble everything in it, but which one is the dominant discipline? Okay.
Okay, let us go to the next question from Mr. Amirul. Prof, what is your comment on journal under MDBI?
MDPI,
Multidisciplinary. Yes.
Multidisciplinary Digital Publishing Institute. Okay, this one I have to check. Okay, Cik Amirul, sorry because I'm not aware about this journal. Okay, so Dr. Shamala, can we capture all the questions that I cannot answer it now
Okay.
so that
Can doctor. We go to the Mr. Azran. I think our library has this perkhidmatan pembelian artikel secara pay per view.
Okay, so
I don't know what is going to ask. Maybe it's
uh,
giving information regarding with the unsubscribed journal. So maybe
yeah.
others can take a note on this point. Thank you, Mr. Azran. Um,
Uh, but Dr. Shamla, I just want to ni lah, whoever librarian who is audience of this talk, okay, pay-per-view is actually more expensive compared to subscription. Okay, so for example, if you are talking about Science Direct article, it will cost you about 152 ringgit per article, pay-per-view. Okay, and for Science Direct, normally people, some library who did not have enough budget, they will go for pay-per-view. For example, they will buy a token for 500 article, but the cost is very high, about 152. I don't know whether UiTM uh, subscribe to this model or by subscription. Okay, because if by subscription, we have made a research, the cost can goes until 4 ringgit only per article compared to pay-per-view. It is a fixed price. You have to pay 152 ringgit per article for Science Direct.
and then there is a Mr. Guy have answered Professor Dr.
Mm-mm.
Muhammad Rizami's question. He have
Okay.
mentioned here the four banned publishers are Academic Journal, Euro Journal, Common Ground Publisher, and African World Press.
Yeah. Okay. So I will check these four publishers and I'll get back to.
Okay. There's a one question from my side that normally nowadays researchers they like to publish in the conference journal. We go present, automatic that paper will be published in the journal. Personally, I'm one of them. So what is the things that we need to take note, because I realized currently whatever I'm publishing in the conference journal, I couldn't get much citation. So can you
Is,
give advice regarding on this?
is it an index
It's the
conference?
index Scopus index, but
Mm-hmm.
I can see my citation is not increased even though I publish two, three, four papers with the collaboration with the other researchers. My
Mm-hmm.
citation is like very down. Compare I publish in a
Journal.
Elsevier, I get a quite good citation. Maybe doctor can advise us regarding our young generation, not young generation, middle generation of people who always want to get a publication, they go for the conference.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't know. Normally people are looking for journals. They are not looking for the conference. If they search for journals, they want to cite, they will look for journals. Very seldom they will look for conference, although it is an index conference. So that's why some of the conferences they will engage uh, with journals to publish that in a special issues. Okay, but if conference proceedings normally, people would like to cite from journals compared to conference and proceedings. So that's why if you see some of the conference, they will engage with journals and they request to publish selected articles from the conference in special issues.
Now I get it. Thank you, Prof. Any else question audience would like to ask? Okay, looks like we already answer all your questions. Uh,
Mm-mm.
let us write, Prof. Is there anything else that you would like to mention in order to summarize based on the audience questions?
Mhm. No, I not. I take notes that some of the question I have not answered. So maybe after this you can help me out to list the question and also the person with the contact number so that I can get back to them. Okay. And thank you for the organizer for inviting me to talk about this topic. And I would like to mention actually I already retired 1st April. Okay, so that's why since Puan Nodiana request me to give a talk, I said okay, although I'm already in my retirement period. Okay, so anyway, thank you very much. So I hope that uh, whatever that I share will be benefit to everybody, and inshallah, uh, we will meet again in another so if you have any question you can always email. Okay, so I can share or I can answer your question based on my experience and also knowledge that I gain. Okay, I think that's all. Wabillahi taufiq. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end of our webinar. We would like to say thank you again to our speaker, Dr. Zuraidah, for the informative and interesting talk, and to the audience for the active participation. Uh, we would like to give you the attendance at the sharing chat. You can give your attendance. Um, Hopefully, the webinar will be beneficial for everybody. Later, we will contact with the person's questions. Uh, hope that hope for the reply from once we get the reply from the prof, we will share the answer with the audience who have questions just now. Please, you may check the chat box to give the attendance. Thank you so much.